Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, I have my wife's Lexus GX460 in the garage for a drain and fill on her differentials and transfer case. Once I get under the vehicle, I'll be showing you the tools, equipment, and the fluids that I'll be using on today's service. So with that, let's jump under the vehicle and get started. Alright, so we are now under the rear of the vehicle, and here is the rear differential. Here is the fill plug up here. It is a 24 millimeter. I have driven this vehicle around the neighborhood a little bit just so the fluid could warm up a little bit, so whenever it's time to drain, hopefully it comes out a little bit smoother. As you can see, the clearance, the tolerances up here are not that great. So if you have a 24 millimeter that's not a long socket, it would probably be easier to get up in here to break this, but this is all I have right now, and I have my long breaker bar above this bar, so I should have enough room to go up with it to break this. As always, anytime you're doing a job like this, make sure you break the fill plug first before you do the drain plug, because if you can't get this undone, you can't put any fluid back in it. So I'm gonna go ahead and break it, and then once it's broken loose, I'll come back. Then we'll do the bottom, which is gonna be right here, the drain plug, and then we'll go ahead and drain it. And then I'll show you the gaskets that we're going to put back on these and the fluid that we're going to use. Alright, fill plug is loose. As you can see, we're able to spin it freely here. So now that that is loose, go ahead and do the drain plug right here and then start draining. Alright, so we have the fill plug out and then also the drain plug out. And this one, I guess, has a little bit of a magnet on it, so you can see there is a little bit of goop, but from the service records I could not see that this had been done at any point in time. So this vehicle has about 155,000 miles on it, so I feel for 155,000 miles that is not too bad. And then on top of that, the oil that came out was actually still pretty clear. It actually looked really good. So kudos to Lexus for making a quality product and putting in some quality gear oil. Speaking of gear oil, what we're going to be putting back in it today is Redline 75W85, which is what this vehicle calls for, and the rear differential from my owner's manual is 2.85 quarts. So that's what we're going to be putting in today. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up these plugs, and I will show you the new gaskets that we're going to be installing. Alright guys, so I went ahead and cleaned the drain and fill plug, shot them down with some brake clean and wiped them down. They are looking nice and clean, and these are the new O-rings that you're going to be putting on. As you see, there's a little beveled edge there. That is going to go towards the casing, and the flat edge actually goes on or towards the bolt. So just like that. That's pretty much it. I'm going to go ahead and put the drain plug back in, secure that, and then we're going to go ahead and start filling this. Now I will show you what I'm going to be using to pump the fluid back in on this one occasion, but on the front differential there's really going to be no need to, because it's just going to be very repetitive. But we're going to go ahead and do this, then we're going to move to the transfer case and then the front differential. Alright guys, so I went ahead and put in the drain plug. I tightened it down with my small hand ratchet initially, and then I went ahead and torqued it. The torque specs that I have on these, now please go and do your own research, but the torque specs I have on these for the drain and the fill is 36 foot-pounds. Just from hand tightening it, I was pretty close, so it didn't take too many rotations to actually get it to click. So that's good enough for me. And so what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be putting the 2.85 quarts back into this rear differential. All I've done, like my other videos, I just got this little kind of marine pump that fits pretty much any 1 quart jug. Put it on top of the jug, and then we're just going to start pumping until we start seeing it come out from the fill hole. And once it's steadily coming out, we're going to call that good. We are going to just double check to make sure that the capacities we put in from these pretty much meets the same amount, but should be around 2.85 quarts. So this is probably the hardest part of this whole thing, is pumping all this back in. So I'm going to get started, and then I'll bring you back once it starts to drip out. there you go. You can start to see it to come over the top right there. So that was actually a little bit more than 2.85. That was like right at 3 quarts. But we're definitely filled. And I'm gonna go ahead and put in that fill plug and then torque it all down, clean it up, and then move on to the transfer case. Let me tell you, I think the closer we get to the front differential, the less and less space we have. Actually, if I came in from the passenger side, I would have more room over there, because right here is the gas tank. So this is the transfer case, this is the drain plug, this is the fill plug. So I'm gonna go ahead and break the fill plug, then the drain plug, drain it, and then I'll show you the gaskets that we're gonna be using for these, because these are different gaskets than the differentials. So let's go ahead, break them, start draining, and then I'll show you the gaskets we're going to put on these plugs. Alright, so I just broke free the fill plug, as you can see here, and now it is time to start draining the transfer case. Well, it doesn't look that bad actually. Now to help this along a little bit, I'm going to take the fill off. That's going to make it flow a little bit smoother. There you go. Alright, so let's take these plugs out, and then I'm going to show you the new gaskets that we're going to put on it, and that shouldn't take long to drain. Then we'll be back, put in the drain plug, fill it up, move on to the front differential. Alright, transfer case bolts are out, cleaned up with a brake clean, and these are the gaskets that we're going to be using. Now there's a little bit of kind of a rounded edge, so I'm going to put that towards the case, and this flatter side I'm going to go against the bolt like that. Now what is different, or what is special about these compared to the differential bolts, or not differential bolts, but the differential gaskets? And these are aluminum, because the transfer case is aluminum, so an aluminum gasket has to be put against the aluminum housing. Now I don't know if all transfer cases across all vehicles are aluminum, but I know my Lexus is, and I know that these are, and so do not put those steel gaskets on this aluminum housing. And if you're asking, yes, I will have all the part numbers to all these gaskets and everything that I'm using today in the description box down below. Now, time to go put the drain plug back in and fill this thing back up. And the fluid that we're going to be using today is what Toyota or Lexus calls liquid gold. Alright, and here you have the liquid gold from Toyota. The owner's manual actually calls for this exactly. It is the transfer gear oil LF75W. This is what it calls for. Now, I know that you can probably put some other stuff in here, but I'm a stickler for putting exactly what they want in. So that's exactly what I'm going to do, and specifically formulated by Toyota for Toyota vehicles. So the reason this is called liquid gold is because this can range anywhere from $50 to $100 a liter. So it can get expensive. But I will still leave this information in the description box below if you're interested. So I believe it is about 1.5 quarts. I'll double check that, put it on the screen. We'll go ahead and puncture this. I have this nice little pump that we're going to put it into, and then we're going to pump that into the transfer case and then move on to the front differential. Alright, now time to fill the transfer case. Again, this is going to be pretty straightforward. I'm just going to be pumping 1.5 quarts into the transfer case. Also, the torque specs that I have for these bolts, they are both 27 foot-pounds. And then once we're finished putting 1.5 quarts in, and put in that fill plug, torque it down, move to the front differential. Alright, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but that is the front differential right there. That is the drain plug, and as you can see, we have this cladding right here protecting it. So what we're going to have to do first, we're going to have to take off this cladding, and then once we have that out of the way, we'll have access to our drain and fill bolts, and then we can go ahead and service this front differential. Alright guys, so this is what it looks like now without the undercladding. It really wasn't that difficult to take off. It was 6 12mm bolts. As you can see there, that is a 10mm hex that is in the drain plug. And right up here is going to be the fill. So we're going to go ahead and break that fill, break the drain it, and then fill it. And so basically what I wanted to accomplish with showing you the front differential is basically where it's located at. The process is going to be exactly the same for the rear differential. I'll put the torque specs that I have on the screen right now for you for the drain and fill plug. Then we're going to fill it up with 75 W85 just like we did the rear differential. And then also here is the fill capacity that you need. And then once we're finished with this, we'll wrap up the video. Alright, so I wanted to show you guys this real quick. Now, it looked like it in the vehicle, but I wasn't 100%. This fill plug has the same gasket that we used on both of the bolts on the rear differential. Also, if you see here for the drain plug, it again has some build up. I don't think that's too bad for 155,000 miles though. So, this one has a completely different gasket. One, because this thing is about twice the size as that one. So yeah, when I was ordering these, they didn't say anything different about it. On the Lexus online parts, it didn't say anything different about it, but this obviously is a different gasket. So I'm gonna call Lexus real quick and see if they have one of these in stock so I can go get it and put the correct piece back on the vehicle. Alright guys, I am fresh back from Lexus, and as you can see here, very slight, but this is the old gasket, this is the new gasket. They're really cool. They actually just gave it to me for free. Probably would only cost a few bucks, but that is the new gasket. I will find the part number for that, and I will make sure that is in the description box so you do not have to do a parts run like I just had to. So the front differential has drain, so I'm going to go ahead and put that back on the drain plug, put that in, torque it down. Also, that does make sense now why the filler and the drain plug had different torque specs. Live and we learn. All right, back to it. Alright guys, that is going to do it for this maintenance video on the GX460. I hope you enjoyed it or found it informative. If you did, please do me a favor, hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more maintenance videos on the GX460 and LX470. And be sure to share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the fun. Everything I used today will be linked in the description box below, so be sure to check that out. And if you have any questions, be sure to leave those in the comments box below, or feel free to reach out to me on my Instagram. Again, this is a very easy project that you can do on your own. So in full disclosure, this actually cost me about $50 more than what it would have been to go to the dealership for parts and labor there. However, this does give me a peace of mind because I know exactly the fluids that I'm putting in this vehicle, and that is why I chose to do it this way. And the total time for this job from start to finish took me about 3 hours. And with that guys, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. We'll see you in the next one.